Hello, everyone. Oh, if you're there, please say hi so I know who's here. I'll wait a few minutes for everyone to join us. Hoping to see a lot of regular friends tonight here on Mrs. Q Live from Hanover Square. It is May 22nd, 17 and 75. We'll be talking about what's happening here in New York still after the effects of hearing about Lexington and Concord. I hope everyone is well tonight. I'll wait a couple more minutes to see who comes in and see who's here. Hoping to have a very fun evening with all of you. And I have a couple of surprises as well, something to show you, and a good story about someone who came into my shop today. Here we go. It's good to see you guys as well. See, we have Pennsylvania, we have New York City, and places, all kinds of other places tonight. It's very good to see everyone. This is great. So as I mentioned, it is May 22nd, 1775. And oh, hello, Keenan, Mr. Davis. It's great to see you. It's so good to see some of these names that I've been seeing so many years, like Mr. Linden. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much for sticking with me all of this time with my work. Ms. Turley, from Indiana. Oh, thank you all so much. It's really wonderful to see everyone. So it's May 22nd of 1775. And you may remember that last week I spoke about the issues that are occurring here in the city of New York as a result of hearing about the events at Lexington and Concord, and that some of those events have been extremely unpleasant, including people barging into my shop last week, complaining about the clothes I was wearing. Hello, Ms. Silver in Los Angeles. We have Mr. Keenster, Ms. Snyder, Ms. Clark, hello. Hi to everyone. It's so neat to be able to talk to you from the 18th century, isn't it? It's incredible what this time machine technology can do for us. So as a result of being harassed last week, because my clothing seemed to be too decorative for certain elements in this town to accept, I hope that I am much plainer and more acceptable today in just some blue and plain white chemise. So I hope the feather in my hair is not offensive to anyone. And I hope no one is upset at the indigo blue because it is an expensive dye, but how much can I do really? And this is just ridiculous what has been going on here, completely unacceptable. Ms. Silver from Los Angeles, Mr. Tallet from Wisconsin, all kinds of places. This is just great to see everyone. So to keep myself from being harassed, I have decided to wear the plainest wardrobe that I have, and this is one of the plainer items that I have. I also have been working on a plain linen jacket, which I was going to wear for you tonight, but I don't have the buttonholes finished yet. Oh, and my dog Rex is here. Always my dog Rex. Great to see you. But I have been working on this lovely canary yellow jacket, a very popular color at this time. It is just plain linen with a plain muslin lining, leftover muslin ruffles, and some red ribbon on the cuffs. I hope no one finds it offensive. It should look very nice when it's finished, and hopefully I will wear it for you next Thursday, as I've made the holes in the jacket, but I have not yet reinforced the buttonholes sewn. Um, Oops, I dropped something. I'm not sure what it was. So hopefully I'll have that ready for you to see next week, and it will be plain enough to satisfy the insane roving mobs that are going around this town. Things have not settled down. As a matter of fact, all kinds of news has come in since I saw you last, including that there was an incident north of here at Fort Ticonderoga. You might know Ticonderoga is a fort left over from the former French and Indian War that was long occupied by English soldiers, which was taken, it seems, by a colonel from Connecticut by the name of Benedict Arnold, and also that pesky militia commander, Ethan Allen. My dog Rex would like to know when not working in the family store, what do I wear when feeding the chickens? Rex, I am in New York City and we do not have chickens in our yard. And if we did, it would certainly be my servant Amelia, who helps me dress and helps me manage the home, who would be feeding the chickens. Perhaps Mr. Q, if he felt so inclined. That's more likely to be found at my sister's home in Albany, where she not only has an estate, but a working farm, or perhaps where my parents are in Haverstraw. But here, we don't have any chickens on our property here. It's a rather small city property that we have, a more, let's see, business-oriented property with our shop and our home. But thank you for asking. I haven't fed chickens since I was a girl. But I did help out on the farm. I mentioned a few weeks ago when I was staying with my sister in Albany that I was helping out on the farm and in the gardens there and enjoying it very much. And I have been doing some small gardening here. I do keep a nice flower garden here with various flowering shrubs, and I do enjoy taking care of those when I have the chance. So we did hear that a colonel from Connecticut by the name of Benedict Arnold, along with that pesky militia commander, Ethan Allen, from that area that we claim is New York and Massachusetts claims is Massachusetts, he and his troublemakers, who are often starting problems in that area, declaring that they want to be a colony themselves, teamed up with this colonel from Connecticut and surprised the English troops at Ticonderoga and took possession of that site, which you may know could be a very strategic spot between here and Montreal concerning the waterways that I've mentioned before that we believe the British are going to try to use to create one long travel route from Montreal down here to the port of New York. So very good for those gentlemen to do that. And we heard news of that a few days ago that that occurred on May 10th. So that would have been last week that that occurred. The same day, coincidentally, that the Continental Congress met for the first time. And I have some things to say about them as well. We've been full of news here over the last week that things have been moving so quickly. I told you last week of Mr. Miles Cooper, having been chased out of King's College by a mob and saved by young Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Troop. Well, we heard today that Mr. Cooper and his family have set sail for England, that they have now left New York, feeling that it is too dangerous for them to be here. So they have unfortunately left New York for England, where they have been on that ship, I think, for a year. I'm sorry, staying on that ship for the last week for their safety and have decided to leave. So they've left the city, and a few other residents have left as well to go live with family, maybe out on Long Island or up in the Hudson Valley or New Jersey, or maybe out on Staten Island. Although to me, in my opinion, the only threat to us here in the city of New York are the roving mobs of Sons of Liberty. Now, you might be surprised that I am not speaking very generously about the Sons of Liberty, even though Mr. Q and I, oh my goodness, I almost accidentally called him by his first name, which would be so impolite of me to do in company like this. We were just, speaking with friends and calling him by his given name, and it nearly slipped out. So I'm so glad that I didn't do that. That Mr. Q and I are both, as you know, Whigs by sentiment and do support separation from England. But we are not pleased with the actions of the Sons of Liberty here in this town. Everyone is afraid to do anything. The ladies are afraid to dress nicely. Everyone is afraid to tell their opinion to anyone, even family members, because who knows who might have a grudge against you or some poor wishes for you who would tell a lie about you to inflame this mob against you. So everyone is being very quiet, very reluctant to speak, and speaking what they think only in very closed quarters, such as a private parlor like this, and also very quietly, so that if there are servants present, none of them can repeat what they've heard. Although I have complete trust in Amelia here, and I'm quite sure that she would never do anything like that. So we have another message from LB Girl 88. Good to see you again, from Mississippi on the Gulf Coast. Thank you for joining us. So we have, that going on, that it's just become very oppressive lately, and what people will say with each other, and people voicing their opinion, which of course is incredibly strange for the city of New York, where until now people have generally been quite outspoken in voicing their opinions. And of course, some people still are. Mr. Q, of course, is still very outspoken in voicing his opinion and is not worried about anyone doing him any harm or attacking him. So Mr. Q is still his same old self, which I'm very glad to hear that he has that kind of fortitude and bravery to still be who he is in the face of all of this. Also, in the meantime, our committee of 100, before they disbanded, which was the governing committee for a time, listed directives to try to calm the town a little bit. And they listed 5 directives last week, including that they have created a night watch that meets from 8 p.m. until 5 in the morning and goes out every 2 hours and walks around the town to make sure that everything is peaceful and safe. They also have directed this watch to make sure that nobody is transporting goods out of the city during the night. The reason for that is the worry of 2 things. One, that someone might be breaking the non-importation, non-exportation agreement that we've entered into concerning trade with England. And the other is to make sure that nobody is sending supplies to the British troops in Boston to aid them against our fellow colonists. So that would be to make sure both of those things aren't going on. There's nothing in the directives, though, about smuggling, which I assume is continuing as usual. So there's directives for that. Also, directives that if they see such behavior, not to stop anyone or to engage in any type of confrontational situation, but to report it to the authorities immediately. My favorite one is a directive to please stop beating drums and firing guns during the night and upsetting the people of the town. What is the need to do that, I ask you? But it is very, very nerve-wracking to hear gunfire during the night and beating of drums down on the street. So very disturbing to have to hear that at night. And we are very happy that that will be brought to a stop, as it serves no purpose. And let me see if I've forgotten any. I did bring the list here with me. Oh, and simply that the commander of the night watch every morning will present a report of the findings the night before by 10 a.m. So this was passed by the Committee of 100, and the Committee of 100 has since disbanded, meaning that we technically have had no government in New York, as we no longer recognize the original colonial government called into session by the governor. The governor has disbanded that, and there is no government meeting. So what we have done in New York is that all of the counties throughout the colony met last week and selected gentlemen to represent them in a new provincial Congress. And it was today, not far from here at the Exchange, which is near Sam Francis Place, the Queen's Head Tavern, which, if you know the town, is about 2 blocks from us here in Hanover Square. All of those gentlemen met today at the Exchange, and they formed the new provincial Congress to govern the colony of New York. I don't recall how many people exactly were there, but they were very efficient. They selected a president of the Congress, Mr. Peter Livingston, and they went about and decided what the rules of operation of that Congress should be, wrote them all, and they will be published, I assume, by Mr. Holt sometime this week. So very effective and very quickly done, and hopefully they will be able to act on all of our behalf during this time of instability and a time when no one is sure what's really going to happen. Now, in the Continental Congress, they have already begun talking about fortifying and defending the city of New York, because I think that just about everyone assumes that forces will come from England to also come to New York. As we mentioned, trying to create that passageway for them from Montreal to New York, which would cut off the New England colonies from the rest of the colonies. I think that you in your time would call that north from south, although we would call that east and west colonies. So an attempt to create a line there to separate the colonies. I think we all assume that will be coming at some time as well. Now, an interesting thing that happened to me in the shop today was I had a very interesting pair of visitors, two young ladies, two lovely young ladies and somewhat entertaining young ladies came in who I've not seen in a while, young Mrs. J and her sister, Mrs. Ripley. These, of course, are the daughters, Sarah and Catherine, daughters of the Honorable Lawyer William Livingston. The two sisters were in New York for the day, came over with their father, who's here on some legal business, and decided to come and do some shopping. So it was very nice to see them. I have not seen Mrs. J since her marriage to Mr. J last summer. Mr. J, you might know, is at the Continental Congress. So I took an opportunity to ask Mrs. J if she might have any inside information about what the gentlemen have been discussing and whether or not she has heard from her husband, Mr. John J, about that. And she told me that she reminded me, of course, that Mr. J himself, as well as her father, oh, and I should also say her uncle, Mr. Robert Livingston, is also one of the delegates to the Congress from New York. So she has maybe two contacts there, although I don't know how freely her uncle, Mr. Livingston, would be speaking to her, but of course her husband is writing to her every couple of days, informing her of what's happening and who he's seeing and what the meetings are and what people are talking about. So of course the Livingstons, at least her father Livingston and her husband, are in favor of separation from England and have made that very clear. Her father himself has been in favor of separation from England since, I think, since as long as I can remember. I remember my father speaking about it when I was just a little girl and didn't really understand what he was talking about, and saying that he wasn't sure if Mr. Livingston, in proposing this so long ago, was a genius or a fool. He said, or maybe a little bit of both. And so we know where her father stands and we know where her husband, Mr. J, stands. But Mr. J says the rest of the New York delegation is not so interested in advocating separation from England, and that many of them have financial interests and land interests that they would like to see protected, and they would like to see, if possible, a reconciliation between the colonies and England. And so Mr. J at this point is a bit skeptical. She said that Mr. J also reported to her that Mr. Adams of Massachusetts is a very brilliant but very abrasive fellow, and that he believes that part of the problem is that Mr. Adams' demeanor is offending the gentlemen in New York and making them less likely to want to open their minds to some of Mr. Adams' arguments about what the Congress ought to be doing at this time. The Congress has, though, she said, met and decided that they need to raise what they're calling a congressional army, and they have formed a committee to decide how to do that. And so we'll be hearing more about that, I suppose, as they make that decision going forward. New York, here in New York, of course, the new provincial Congress has also declared that we need to start raising militias here in New York in the event of an attack from England. So some of that will be happening. I think Mr. Q knows more about what's going on in that department than I do and what's happening with that. But the two former Miss J's, I still think of them as girls, as they are very young. Mrs. J is only 18 years old and her sister only 20. So they are still, to me, they are still just girls, although married ladies already, married much younger than I was. It was lucky that anyone married me at all. As I mentioned many times in the past, I was lucky to have found Mr. Q when I was a little bit older, and for him to have decided I would make him a lovely wife, and me, of course, falling in love with him as well. But certainly when I was 18 and 20 years old, there were no gentlemen interested in marrying me, because I was still quite a bit boyish and unpolished at that time, in spite of my time in um, young ladies etiquette school when my mother sent me. I think of my youth, it was so much fun, but of course now I'm required to be a proper lady now, at least publicly. So I do my best to do that. Anyway, the two young former Miss Livingstons were a joy to have in the shop and to see again as young married ladies. Although it disappointed me a bit because they did come into the shop to look for some plainer, more homespun fabric, as they would like to support the effort, as they said. And although I understand, their sensibilities and wanting to do that and to support the effort and to not wear anything imported, I of course understand all of that and wanting to do that. Um, it does still make me feel a bit sad that the young ladies at the time in their life when they ought to be wearing lovely outfits and lots of color and ribbons and their jewelry and their feathers and should be just enjoying their youth and dressing up and enjoying themselves, are feeling pressure not to do that. Although I do understand the desire to want to support the effort and the opposition against England by dressing a little plainer. And I did get the idea from the two young ladies that this sort of seemed like a fun dress up challenge to them, that dressing down was a bit of a challenge for them and something they were looking forward to doing. I showed them, of course, I showed them the jacket I was working on as I was sewing the sleeve ruffles on when they came in the shop. I was finishing up the sleeve ruffles and I showed it to them, and they very much liked the yellow linen, and Miss J bought some of the yellow linen for herself, and her sister bought some lovely burgundy linen for herself, and they bought some ribbons and some muslin and some other things. So, I think to them it's a little bit of a um, almost like a costume party that they're looking forward to in dressing down a little bit. And I should also remark that dressing down for the Livingston girls is still going to be, I think, dressed up for many of the women who do live in the Hudson Valley or who live out in Long Island or in Staten Island. So I think for them, dressing down is not quite as down as they might think. But it was nice to have them and nice to talk to them and nice to hear some information about the Congress. Mr. J also reported that the Southerners seem to be reluctant to join up with New England, as they view the New Englanders in a rather negative light, and the New Englanders view them in a rather negative light. And they also think of the Bostonians as being the reason all of these troubles have started and having nothing to do with them, with the exception, as I've mentioned before, Virginia, where Mr. Patrick Henry, excuse me, if anyone is wondering where Mr. Q and I managed to get fresh, drinkable water, we do pay someone to bring it to our home for us. So we do have it delivered, as the water here in the city is not drinkable in its unboiled form and may not even be drinkable in that form. So we are lucky to be able to have someone cart water to us. So that is the water I'm drinking. Oh, excuse me. My hair is flying all over tonight. Um, so with the exception of Richard Henry Lee and Patrick Henry, um, there aren't really any Southerners who are supporting Massachusetts. And may have mentioned to you before that the reason Virginia supports Massachusetts is that their agent from the Parliament did write to them and assure them that England plans to come over and subdue every one of the colonies eventually. I don't know if the other colonies have not got that word. Oh, which reminds me, there were letters intercepted in the post. How could I forget this? There were letters intercepted in the post between someone here in New York um, on their way to No, I'm sorry, it's the other way. It's from someone from here in New York who lives in London, who was writing to a friend here in New York, whose letter was intercepted on the way and gave news that it is true that the Tories or loyalists here in New York are encouraging the British in the parliament to take harsher actions against the colonies and assuring them that New York will break with the other colonies and will support England. What a scandalous thing that these letters were intercepted and printed in, I think, was it Mr. Gaines' Mercury? Or it might have been Mr. Holt's journal. I don't remember precisely, but one of those gentlemen printed excerpts from those letters. And what a sensation it was when these letters were revealed that people here in the city truly are writing letters of encouragement to England. And I believe there was another letter from Lord Dartmouth to Governor Tryon assuring him of that as well, that they were getting news from here and assurances from here that New York would stand with England, and inquiring of the governor if he thought this would be true. This is first quite a feat that these letters were. I shouldn't be laughing. They were stolen, weren't they? But in times like these, I suppose one can't expect privacy in one's communications, which is why everyone is speaking so softly in private rooms like these. Just a stunning admission of betrayal there. And of course, the letters have been printed in the newspapers in the other colonies, who are all still skeptical about New York and sending continual threats to us and the Tories here. Thus the reason for the night watch, in case anybody tries to do anything to anyone at night. Things are just in a complete state of disarray now. Just very difficult. It was very good to see the two young ladies in the shop today, as business, as you can imagine, is slow. I'm not importing anything right now, so there is only the stock that I have and the stock that I've been accumulating for the last few months. And things for the winter that I'm sorry, things for the summer that the ladies may be coming in to get. But generally at this time of year is when we do accept our very large shipments from England. Late April and early May, and then again in November is when we accept our large shipments from England of things like fabrics, pre-made clothing, all sorts of housewares, furniture, things we're not allowed or not supposed to be making here for ourselves, all come imported into our colonies in late spring and in late fall. So right about now is when those ships would be arriving, or in the last month they would have been arriving. And of course, since we're not accepting those shipments, a lot of things that I normally would have for sale, I don't have for sale now. So it's quite slow, but I have time to sew. I haven't sewn my own clothes in quite a while. So it is fun to sew. I don't mean to not give the business to my lady who usually does it, but I'm trying my hand at sewing, and I hope it will meet my mother's high qualities. My mother's an excellent seamstress. I hope that when my mother sees it, she won't be embarrassed by my work. My mother's a very straightforward lady, and if she thinks it's awful, she'll say to me, why, Mrs. Q, although she won't call me Mrs. Q, she'll say, why, Mrs. Q, I think you should go back to your lady and not wear your homemade clothes in public. So we'll see. Although I think it looks quite nice. So that is the state of things here on May 22nd. We now have, excuse me, a New York Provincial Congress. I don't know how long they'll continue to meet, but they have begun meeting and will be handling all legal affairs and civil affairs for our colony until further notice. I got to see the two former Miss Livingstons today, which was, quite enjoyable to see them and to see, two lovely young ladies starting out in their lives, although starting out at a difficult time. But we hope all of this will resolve and they will both go on to live long and happy lives with their husbands. It was nice seeing them, getting a little bit of inside info from the Congress, and just spending the day to part of the day today with Mr. Q. While I was sewing my little jacket in the shop, Mr. Q came in and spent some time with me as well. He usually doesn't, but he came in and spent some time with me. So that was very nice, just sitting with Mr. Q in the shop, spending the afternoon doing very little. And maybe tomorrow there'll be more entertaining things to do. I do hear that our Mr. Q has let the dog in. I just heard him come up the steps, and he is here in the room with me. Oh, he left. I have asked Mr. Q many times not to let that dog in the house, but the dog goes everywhere with Mr. Q. Where you see Mr. Q, you see the dog. Whatever room Mr. Q is in, last I looked, Mr. Q was reading in the library. The dog was in the library with him. Now he's up here with me, but I'm sure he's returning to Mr. Q. He follows him everywhere. They go all around the town together. Mr. Q and his dog, they're quite good friends. We've seen with his dog everywhere he goes. The Q dog, as he's known, or the dog is just known as Q at times. Mr. Q and Doggy Q. Oh, he just laid down behind me. I can hear him back there. So if you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer them. You just put them in the comments if you like. Otherwise, it's been wonderful seeing you, and I will be happy to see you all again next Thursday here from Hanover Square. And if you have an opportunity, please, on Sunday night from 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Republic Broadcasting Network, you can hear my 21st century self, Karen Q, and Mrs. Q History. I will also be talking a bit about what's going on in 1775 and a few other things about the American Revolution. So hopefully you can join me Sunday as well. Thank you so much. If you like my video, please like these and share them and recommend them to all your history buffs who like to have history in a lighter and more fun environment. So thank you all. Good night from Hanover Square, and I will see you all next week.